आपादमौलिपर्यन्तां गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेत्येन विघ्नप्रणश्यन्ति सिद्धन्ते च मनोरथः। लक्ष्मीतनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षमङ्घ्रिद्वयं निगमशाखिशिखाप्रवालं हैरम्बम् अम्बुरुहडम्बरचौर्यनिग्रहं विघ्नाद्रिभेदशतधारधुरन्धरन्। सर्वेषां स्वागतम्. Welcome to the Bhāvārtha session for the 26th shloka. प्रत्यक्परोक्षादिविरोधमात्मनः विहाय संगृह्य तयोश्चिदात्मताम् संशोधिताल्लक्षणया च लक्षिताम् ज्ञात्वा स्वमात्मानमथाद्वयो भवेत्. प्रत्यक्परोक्षादिविरोधमात्मनः विहाय संगृह्य तयोश्चिदात्मताम् संशोधिताल्लक्षणया च लक्षिताम् ज्ञात्वा स्वमात्मानमथाद्वयो भवेत्. So before this 25th, we saw the shloka as how the tat, tvam, asi words must be understood. First, we have to understand the padartha. After we understand what the padas, that is tat, tvam, masi, individually what they indicate, what they show, what they depict, then what we do, then we have to understand what their vakyartha, that is contextual meaning is. So when we learned that tat, tvam are the jiva, the paramatma and the jivatma, and then asi is equality or total identity between them. Now, obviously, any logical person, when we say that the Paramatma and the Jivatma have total identity among them, they will not accept this argument, because technically speaking, we are considering Paramatma as the complete Chaitanya, pure energy. And we know ourselves to be manipulated by matter. We have our vrittis, etc., etc. So when we say that the two are equal, obviously they are not. So how is there total identity between them? So this happens. So for that, they have Rama starts to give what how it should be understood as well. So he says pratyak parokshadi. Pratyak parokshadi. So one that is pratyaksha bhava, one that is perceived through direct tangibility, we can say pratyaksha. Then parokshadi, that is through implied meaning, through that. Now when we understand the meaning of tat and tvam, not through pratyaksha but through paroksha rupa, because what happens is pratyaksha, paroksha, both of them are virodha. We have the differences, virodha atmanoho. So between the jivatma and paramatma, there is a difference. We cannot say they are both equal to each other. But how do we understand that equality is when we get rid of the pratyaksha and paroksha rupas of these two aspects. Then what happens? We will understand the knowledge, sangrahya. We will understand the equality concept between them, tayoho, chidatmatam. That is, when we understand chit atmatam, the pure consciousness concept, that we understand, because anyway, we are saying that Paramatma is nothing but pure consciousness, that is Satchidatma, right? Satchidananda. So when we are talking about the energy flowing among us, among manifested forms also, there is that pure consciousness. The nature of pure consciousness is there. But obviously it is not realized. It is not realized because of ajnana, etc., etc. Those things are there. So, but how do we understand any kind of equality, we have to understand it through a simple analytical process where we are eliminating the difference. So, pratyaksha, paroksha have virodha meanings, artha, virodhartha. So, therefore, first what we have to do, we have to first get rid of those two things. When we vihaya is to get rid of, then we will understand what is left out, the essence of jiva and atma. Between those two, when we understand, we will when we get rid of the difference, whatever is making them different, then we will understand there is some equality between the two, maybe in terms of nature, maybe in terms of tattva, etc., etc. Sangrahya tayohi chidatmatam. So between those two, there is a essence of equality or identity that we will understand only when we get rid of the differences. That is the virodha, the opposite nature that they have, that doesn't sit together with each other. When we get rid of that, we will find that essence. But how do we do that? Samshodhitam. Samshodhitam. What to samshodhita? Samshodhana is basically through inquiry, that is self-inquiry, that is through nididhyasana, shravana, manana, nididhyasana. Through that part, when we understand lakshitam, that is through implied. When we do the self-inquiry, we will understand what is the implication, implied meaning of the advaya nature. So when we do it, lakshanaya cha lakshitam, through implication, when we arrive at the implied meaning of this advaya, of the word advaya, then we will understand what swam atmanam, one's own self, swam atmanam, atha advayaha, swam atmanam atha advayoho, advayo bhavit, that is advayaha, it gets visarga gets o bhava over there, so advayaha bhavit. So our own self, we understand it to be non-dualistic. That means there is identity, there is no dualism, that is not different from the Paramatma. So this verse is saying that pratyak parokshadi, that means anything that is not sitting together, that is anything that is not equal. If we remove those differences, obviously we have differences between the two, the jiva and atma. When we remove those things, like for example, we take a cell. A cell can be put into a remote, it can be put into an alarm clock, it can be put into anything. So there what we are doing, we are trying to understand not the remote and not the alarm clock. We can't say those two are equal. Those two are obviously not equal. Even the cell may not be equal. But how is the cell made? The cell is made through a certain chemical reaction. No, there is that based on that particular chemical reaction only the energy is generated. It is transformed. So if we go through that, then there is equality between them, because they both run on the same principle. They both run on the same this thing. Then we can take any kind of akara for that. It can be a very small thing as a remote. It can be as big as a car. So there, the principle of generating energy becomes important as the essence. So when we look at the two manifested things, or when we look at one manifested thing, one unmanifested energy, obviously they cannot be equal. One is extremely pure, one is completely manifested. How is it possible? I cannot say the water that I drink or the water that flows in natural forms also. The water that flows in the ocean is equivalent to the water that has been that is iced in the caps. Arctic or Antarctic, but they are both forms of water only. There, what are we taking? We are not considering their state also. States of matter also we are not considering. We are considering their chemical composition, H2O. Then we understand, no, no, both of them might be in different forms. Both of them might have different purity. Both of them might be in different nature. One is still, the other one is flowing. Both of them might have different taste. One is salty, the other one is pure, pristine, fresh water. So there are so many differences between them. But what is that equality? It is that the chemical composition is same. So in the same way, we are considering the Paramatma to be that pristine, pure consciousness. So obviously, I cannot say Aham Brahmasmi when the nature is when I say that Aham Brahmasmi, I am not saying that I am the pure consciousness. I am trying to say that there is an essence apart from the whole manifestation, all the vrittis, everything removed. There is an essence within me that is nothing but manipulated form of the pure consciousness. So therefore, there has to be some amount of pure consciousness within me. We can turn water into any kind of liquid form. It can become a juice, it can become ice, it can become jelly, it can become whatever. But the liquid aspect of it will always remain, because though the chemical composition is making it intact. So when we remove that pratyak paroksha, that is something that is causing viparita rupas. Pratyaksha, paroksha. Pratyaksha is direct, paroksha is indirect or implied. So these two are opposite in nature. When we remove these things, then these two are viruddha in nature. When we remove that, then we will understand that there is some identity between the jiva and atma. And when we start to look into the nature of that particular essence, then it will show us that our atma, that self atma, is also equal, it doesn't have a dual nature. That means it is advaya. That means it actually identifies with the Paramatma. That is the Bhāvārtha of this verse. With that, we conclude this Bhāvārtha session. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहीषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।